Good morning, everyone. It is August 4th, Tuesday, the 14th of Av, and I hope everybody's staying safe in this kind of wacky weather day. I wanted to thank our featured guest speakers from yesterday who looked very, very comfortable in front of the camera, as you can notice. Many people saw it. I think we actually broke the internet with that video, so thank you to Alan and Ari for always contributing in so many ways, giving of all of your resources and talents on behalf of the shul. Nothing like a little good-spirited humor and a nice light summer fare. But again, yashikoch, and it was very, very well received. Reminder that tonight after davening at 7 p.m. on Zoom, we're having our congregational meeting. A number of items to discuss. We have the election of our new presidents. We have an introduction of our new rabbinic couple, Rabbi Isaac and Yael Bernstein, who are here in town, actually moved in. We're going to introduce our new youth directors and a lot more. Also, we want to urge everyone to please fill out the survey for the high holidays, because we need to be able to make an informed decision as regulations are changing, evolving, or whatever, but we need to try and plan as best we can, but we're only as good as the information that we have. So please fill out that survey. Please also continue to contribute to our virtual campaign. This is our largest fundraiser of the year, and our event, which we will have at some point in time, but we will be honoring, and we continue to honor online virtually every single day, Barbara and Andy Hutter for their service to our shul, honoring them since the beginning of Eitz Chaim, and also thanking Yoni Glad for his 10 years of service. Please continue to daven for refuah shalema, for those who are not well, and their families, and all those in Klal Yisrael, but in our community particularly for Mordechai ben Elka, Robert Falzev ben Rickel, Noah Alice Balila Chester, Rezel Basara, Gittel Basara, and again, all those who need, and for the families who are struggling at this time. The sponsor today, I remember it was a year ago on the 14th of Av that I was actually away, and I heard the very sad news that Marion Safra, that her father passed away, David ben Eliyahu Miriam, David Shapiro. And today ends the period of mourning for David ben Eliyahu Miriam. As a matter of fact, I was actually in the cemetery in Paramus a couple of weeks ago, and when I'm in a cemetery and I know certain locations, so I actually, on my way out, I swung by. It's right on the edge, and I remember Marion said, I had this great spot for your parents right next to the road. She says, well, they always wanted to be in front. They never wanted to wait online for anything. So I want to thank Marion and Michael for sponsoring the video today. And again, your father's neshama should have an aliyah. And he was a Holocaust survivor, and he was someone who lost many members of his family in the Holocaust, and some survived. Fantastic stories of heroism, which we heard during the Levaya, during the Shiva, pilots, planes crashing, but more importantly, the life that he lived afterwards, in which he, from very humble beginnings, and he built himself an empire, not only of physical means, but also of family means, and how his family takes such pride in being his children. So again, this Dvar Torah this morning, and on this day we recognize David ben Eliyahu and Miriam. May his neshama have an aliyah. So one of the things that we read about in the parsha this week, in Parshas Ekev, is that we have a mitzvah of benching. And that means that when we eat bread, or when we eat any other type of food, in essence, that we thank God before we eat the food, and we bless God. We make a bracha, or something called a birchas hanehen, or it's a matir, that allows us to eat from God's bounty in this world. But it's not enough to thank God or ask permission beforehand, but also afterwards. Afterwards, the Torah says, "Ve'achalta ve'savata uveirachta." You eat, you are satisfied, and then beirachta, you have to bless. Often in this world, we work so hard to get what we get. We try so hard, we ask, we thank, we do this, and then when we get it, that's it. We forget about where it came from. In Judaism, that's not the case. It's always ve'achalta ve'savata. You eat, God willing, we should be satisfied, and then veirachta. A very, very important part of our whole culture, about our whole tradition, is uveirachta afterwards. That once everything goes well, then we still give thanks, and we recognize where our good fortune came from. And this is why we have what's called benching, After we eat bread, a proper amount of bread, we have Birkat Hamazon, what we call benching. If you eat from the grains, then we have Al HaMichya. If it's something at Shehakol, we say Borei Nefashos. But we always have Achalta V'Savata V'Irachta. I've always felt that when a person comes to the end of a mourning period, and there are different stages in mourning, and there's the period of the immediate loss, then there's the funeral, and then there's the Shiva, and then there's the Shloshim, and then there's the year. And it doesn't mean that, God forbid, the memory is gone. Because the memory of a parent, the memory of a loved one, can never be taken from you. But there's an essence, there's an element of Ve'achalta v'savata v'irachta. Is that even now, after all of this, after we've taken it all in, and we've appreciated and understood what our life means without our loved one, whether it's after a couple of days, a month, and now a whole year, nevertheless, we're required by halacha, we're required by our tradition to say uverachta, and to give thanks. To give thanks that we had the opportunity to love those that we had in our lives. We had the ability to appreciate that which they gave us in their lifetimes. We had the ability to appreciate that which we have benefited from in our lifetimes from them. And now, in their absence, we still benefit. It's painful, and there's loss, and there's sadness, but at the same time, we recognize that there's no more suffering, and that people go on to the Olam HaEmes, and Ve'achalta v'savata uveirachta. And I believe firmly that anyone who was a Holocaust survivor, that when they come up to Shemayim, when they come up to heaven, and God, as it were, would pull up a chair for them and give them a front row seat and say, you don't have to wait online. Because what you experienced in this world and what you were able to accomplish after that experience is something that's worthy of a front row seat. So, Marion, I see how you carry your life with your family and the lessons that you learned from your father and your late mother, Alaiha Shalom. And on this day, the morning is over and life goes on. But I know that you have this value and you share it with others of uverachta, that you bless and you give thanks for everything that you've been given in this world. And I think it's upon all of us to recognize the people who got us to where we are and the thanks that we owe them both in their lifetimes and lo aleinu when the time comes, even after their lifetimes. So again, may the neshama of David ben Eliyahu Miriam may have an aliyah. David Shapiro, again, the morning ends today, and we should only celebrate simchas together. And please enjoy the little montage of pictures that are attached, and you get a little idea of the great individual that David was. And I hope that everyone has a wonderful day, and we'll see you very, very soon.